away with nominations and letting the JBC conduct independent searches for possible candidates. What reforms have you undertaken to address this call, ma'am?
Well, first of all, the nomination and appointment process is defined in the Constitution. So as Chief Guardian of the Constitution, I have no say on that. I'm not even advocating any change because it's already defined in the Constitution. Now, what Justice Lagman here can attest to is the kind of professional inputs that we want. This is the vision of the JBC. Can we become something like a professional headhunter? You know, for top executives, and why should we not consider a single judge as important as a top executive? For us to look for the best and the brightest, there is even a proposal to even think of plucking out a talented young person even from the law school and guide his or her career so that he can eventually become a judge. If we can transform the JBC into a professional firm, headhunting entity that will really search out the best and get inputs from the community, I think that is the best way we can help. And eventually, we can even think of enriching the nomination process by perhaps making qualitative assessments of the nominees that we are sending in the nominee lists to the president. But that is a long way off. We are still streamlining our processes. We are in the process of studying an online application form, so it does not become too much of a burden. We have already looked at our transparent interview process for important posts. We are trying to look for good survey instruments to find the pulse of the public. And yes, we are hiring more professionals, those who are good in human resources. Finding talents, identifying core values, predicting ability to endure the life of a judge. And our questions during the JBC, they're becoming more robust. We're already telling the judges what they are in for. Usually, it was, what is your philosophy, etc. But this time, we're telling them about the reality. Are you willing to go and be in charge of a court where you will find yourself many times pulling out your pocket the money for pizza or fried chicken because you need to fund the overtime of your staff, and there's no overtime expense being given automatically to you by the court? Are you willing to yourselves before sometimes to undertake emergency renovations because the system is so clogged right now that you cannot even undertake that for them? It's a reality check, what we are trying to do, if they have the fortitude for that kind of life. And the life of a judge can be a lonely life because to be perceived as someone who is, who cannot be influenced, you will have to naturally limit the kind of social contacts you will be having. Thank you, Tej.
For my next question, what is the biggest obstacle you consider to achieving your goals, and what measures have you been doing to address this?
Biggest obstacle? Well, I've already discussed many obstacles. And in my answer to Maria, I spoke about the fact that life for me has been about overcoming one obstacle after another. Now, if trying to identify the biggest obstacle means that we can move judicial reform faster, is there a way, can we devise a way to have a national conversation immediately about judicial reform and generate the consensus about that? You see, we're spread out across how many islands? I find myself having to hop on a plane for whatever spare time I have to have one-on-ones with some people. I'm trying to create a video conferencing system or a teleconferencing system so I cut down on travel time. But we must have a national consensus on judicial reform. And the fact that we are so geographically structured means that we may have to make intelligent use of information technology, but we don't have it yet. And at the same time, generate the kind of consensus and the kind of lock-in step cadence I was talking about earlier for the entire judiciary. Because I do not believe that, that reform can happen through a top-down system of orders and instructions. I believe that reform can only happen if the judges and the court employees nationwide, all the way to the farthest courts, start to trust in the leadership of the judiciary, that I understand their problems, that I believe that they have the operational capacity to solve their problems, and that I am here, and we are here, to streamline the processes and the systems that make the solutions very difficult for them. If that can happen within a reasonable period of time, that will really be good, because we really do have geographical constraints. So that is what I have been trying to imagine. Is that possible?
Thank you, ma'am. Next question will come from Leah Manialak del Castillo, GMA7.
Hi, ma'am. Good afternoon. Ma'am, we were able to get copies of the Justice's SAL-ends for last year, no? We observed lang po in the SAL-ends that a number of justices listed their relatives like anak or daughter-in-law as staff